Sometimes you just gotta pull the old Abyss Actor deck out and go, nope, I want to be anti-Splight for this event. I don't think that 30% of you guys have not smashed the living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so we can climb up the 100k ladder. Well, Splight, anti-fun good stuff Abyss Actor deck, featuring Deck Devastation Virus. And honestly, this is a kind of interesting concept here. Being able to kind of pull the best out of like all of the floodgates, take advantage of, you know, the meta, and be able to paralyze the opponent seems pretty interesting. So we have triple copies of Comic Relief, triple copies of Curtain Riser, triple copies of Extras, triple copies of Mellow Madonna, one copy of the Sassy Rookie, two copies of Superstar, triple copies of Wild Hope, one Morphing Jar number 2, triple copies of Rise of the Abyss King, triple copies of Deck Devastation Virus, triple copies of Dragon King's Aura. When your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, negate the activation if you do destroy the monster. Then you can banish one monster from your hand, and if you do, search from the destroyed monster by this effect, and since it, it comes back to your field, but its effects are negated. So you can actually jack what your opponent was attempting to do, which is absolutely busted. We have triple Gozen Match, triple Rivalry, triple Skill Drain, and of course, triple copies of Solemn Strike here, wrapping up the main deck. Down here in the extra deck, we have one Underworld Goddess, one Ningrisu, one Master King Archfiend, one Nightmare Phoenix, one Electromite with one D-Hark, one copy of Beyond the Pendulum, one Apo, one Access Code, triple copies of Hyperdirector, one Zeus, one Abyss DDD, one Vice King Machinix, and then side deck here we have two Kumamungus, triple Lava Golem, two Lord of Heavenly Sky Prison, two Called by the Grave, triple Hatronade with two copies of Konig Oisen, and one copy of the Shirin Basho here, wrapping up our interesting take on Abyss Actor anti-meta. Next up here is one of the interesting lists for basically the Punk deck. A lot of people have been asking about Punk, and I've seen a few lists come and go out of the woodwork here, but for the most part, I think that it's kind of interesting to see what you can do. The new Synchro is really good. On Synchro Summon or Special Summon by a Punk card effect, pay 600, take a level 3 Psychic monster from deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. If your opponent activates a card or effect in response to the activation of your Punk card or effect, while it's in your graveyard, and Special Summon this card. So 2700 that gets to float on back, and then the ability just to pull out level 3s, that's pretty good. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, two Effect Veiler, one copy of the Gagaku Punk Wagon, two copies of Snow Rabbit, one Madam Spider, triple Maxi, one Nibiru, two Dianote, triple Foxy Tune, triple copies of Ogre Dance, we have triple copies of Ziamin, two Hasty Horse, two Shirin Katsui, two Called by the Grave, one Crossout Designator, two Emergency Teleport, one Punk Jam Session, two Pot of Prosperity, triple Imperm, and one copy of our in-archetype Imperm. Down here in the next deck, we have one Unicorn with one Hauk, one Axis Machine, one Break Sword with one Downer Magician, one Zeus, two copies of the Unikyo Punk Amazing Dragon, one Ravenous Dragon, one Psychic Imp Punisher with one copy of the Punk Jam Dragon Drive, one Formula Synchron with one Chaos Ruler, one copy of Baron de Fleur, and one copy of Rising Carp. Side deck here we have one Pankratops, two Space Rocks, triple Retaliating Sea, one Black Rose Dragon with one Harpy's Feather, so triple Lightning Storm, one Talents, two D-Barrier, and one copy of Red Reboot here, which wraps up your little Punk experience here. Like I said, I think this deck is kind of interesting. I hope to see some other interesting takes on this as we go forward here. Next up is Code Talker. No, it's actually just Mathmech. I gotta give a shout out here to Mathmech Circular. You can send a Mathmech card from your deck to the graveyard, except for Circular. So after send this card from your hand, you can only type one monster for the rest of this turn. That's fine. Easy stuff. If another Mathmech is normal or special summon to your field while you control this card, you can add a Mathmech spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. So I can search for Equation, which is a monster board, or I can search for Super Factorial to basically bring out, you know, the big guns for whatever we need. It's actually a very interesting, solid game plan here. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, one DD Crow, triple copies of Ghost Bow in the Haunted Mansion, two Ghost Ogres, we have two Lady Debugs, two Additions, triple copies of Circular, two Dimeters, 2 copies of Sigma, 2 Subtractions, triple copies of Maxi. We also have triple Microcoder, 2 copies of Parallel Exceed, 2 copies of Called by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, triple copies of Signet Mining, 1 copy of Equation, 1 copy of Signet Conflict with triple Imperm, and 1 copy of the Super Factorial. Down here in the extra deck, we have 1 Update Jammer with 1 Transcode Talker, 1 Splash Splash, 1 Almirage, 1 Link Spider, 1 Lingaribo, 1 Firewall with 1 Decode Talker Heatsoul, 1 Cyberus Wit Kid, 1 Code Talker Inverted, 2 copies of Access Code. Actually, double Access Code does come up in this deck, which is crazy. 1 Laplacian and 2 copies of Valimbertian. Side deck here we have 2 Contact Seas, 1 Pankratops, 2 Effect Veilers, 2 Nibiru's, 1 Harpies Featherduster, triple Lightning Storm, triple Mischief of the Gnomes, and 1 copy of Red Reboot here. Wrapping up Code Talkers. Now, like I said, I think it is very interesting to just see how much one card adds into a strategy at this point in time. And honestly, going forward here, once the TCG gets this, I expect some very interesting things out of this as well here. Next up is going to be Virtual World. Now remember, even on the power scaling that the OCG has this deck scaled back to, they still are playing the Brave package here. Also, shout out here to the Dragon Lark Pyren. Cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect when a monster other than Pyren is face up on the field. That's special summon from the graveyard. Alright, and then during the standby phase, detach material from this card, target 1 level 5 or lower monster in your graveyard. Special summon it. So we can Scythelock our opponent. That's pretty cute. Alright, it does not negate the effects. This gives you a mini little Scythelock to kind of torture your opponent. It is a very interesting resource. So we have triple copies of Lulu, 2 copies of Nian Nian, triple copies of Lalo, triple copies of Gigi, triple copies of Lily, triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, triple copies of Maxi, 1 Water Enchantress, 1 Griffon Rider, 1 Snow, with 1 Scythe. And then we have triple copies of Kowloon, triple copies of Qinglong, 2 copies of Called by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 2 copies of Emergency Teleport, 1 Talents with 1 Rite of Armesier, 1 Draco back with 1 Faithful Adventure, 2 copies of Chuche, and 1 copy of Zuan Wu. Then in the next deck we have 1 Final Ligma, 1 copy of Cheng Ying, 1 Barundi Fluer, 1 Beatrice, 1 Pyren, 1 copy of Breaksword, 1 Gaia Dragon, 1 M7 with 1 Fan with 1 Zeus. Then we have 1 Vermilion Dragon Mech, 1 Stardust Charge, 1 Coral Dragon, 1 Giu, and 1 Senshin here. And then we have 2 Space Rocks, 1 Pankratops, 1 Featherduster, 2 Regekis, 2 Lightning Storms, 2 Dark Holes, 1 Red Reboot, 1 Emptiness, and triple copies of Skill Drain here. Wrapping up, well, another take for Virtual World. Honestly, the deck is still virtually working. Last as we have here is branded, yes, Tear Elements. A lot of people are looking at this deck still and giving this deck a lot of credit. And I think that this deck is going to be one of the scariest decks going forward here in the future. So we have triple copies of Ash, Blossom, and Joyous Spring, 2 copies of DD Crow, triple copies of Effect Veiler, 1 Fallen of Albats, 1 Ghost Ogre. We have triple copies of Maxi, 1 Space Rock, 1 Shaddoll Beast. We have 1 Hoffins, triple copies of Miru, triple copies of Reno Heart, triple copies of Shaylin, triple copies of Branded Fusion, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Foolish Barrel, 2 copies of Fusion Deployment, 1 Instant Fusion, triple copies of the Plornico, the Primal Parallel Ruined Realm, 1 Terraforming, with 1 Mentonomase and 1 Solic. And actually, with 1 Time Thief Redoer, 1 Titaniclad, 2 Kitalos, 1 Big Heart, 2 Dragostapeli, 1 Mud Dragon, 1 Mirjade, 1 Millennium Eyes, 1 Nubelian, 1 Anantis, 1 Winda, 1 Albion, and 1 Albaranitis. And then we have 1 Big Ball, 2 Artemis Slay, triple Dark Roller, 1 Featherduster, triple Lightning Storm, 2 Skill Drain, and triple copies of Solemn Judgment here, wrapping up this chunk of deck profiles for you guys. What do you guys think about this stuff? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. And like I said, there's so much cool stuff happening in the OCG right now, you know, besides Splight, that it's actually interesting. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later on the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you. ya!
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.